Trust me, I'll never make you look bad on camera.
Bored to Deathers, we are back. I'm getting shit talked to me right off the bat, as I should. I bring this shit on myself.
As you should.
We've been away from you guys for a while, but we've all been up to some pretty cool stuff, and we'll get to that. But before that, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Anchor, the app that we started our podcast with. If you are into podcasting, it's a super simple, super easy way to get in, and it has a bunch of tools that can make your podcast sound incredibly professional, in quotes, just like ours.
Just like ours.
And it's super useful and very easy to use, right, Luke?
It is, yeah.
Because Luke does most of our stuff because I'm what you would call a moron.
That's not true.
Chris is very smart. He wears glasses. And so besides that, and our friends at Menace Brewing in Bellingham, Washington, super, super cool place, super cool guys. I actually met the new owners for the first time.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, went over there to sign up a few things to finish up the transition. And some of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Some of the greatest hospitality I've received. It was very, very nice guys. Bought me a few beers. We talked a little bit about what their plans are going forward, and I absolutely love it that their idea is to just kind of grow organically in the community and really be part of the community. So, Menace Brewing is I just want to give a shout out to them and the local public house and the annex, all the families that exist within the Menace Brewing community. And last but not least,
Who?
all of our moms.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Here we go. Thanks for giving birth to us, guys.
My mom will never hear that because she doesn't watch this show. I think.
My mother doesn't either.
My mom will
far-
never watch this.
I'm 1,000% too conservative.
That was a useless
This is
shout
for
out,
my
but
mother,
I really do appreciate it.
That's one of the reasons why I'm not on camera. I don't want her to accidentally come across and go, oh, that's my baby. I need to watch this. No, mama, no.
No.
No, you don't.
No, I remember the first one
No,
I
you
posted. I posted on Facebook of our
yeah.
podcast, and I was like, there's a part of me that feels like I never should have done that. It's
God.
because as soon as my mom started getting on Facebook, life changes a little bit, and that's been a big driver of why I'm never on Facebook anymore, because I'm apt to say some stupid shit.
You don't say.
Yeah, right.
No.
Not a big surprise.
The fact that your
That's-
mother's not used to this.
That's preposterous.
Yeah, well, you could say that I.
See, no, it's a big difference between being used to it and also a big difference of being within arm reach when they hear it. Because to a mom, when you talk shit or say something that you're not supposed to say and they can reach out and touch you, that's correction of the problem right there. when
And I probably don't need to spell it out for you guys. When he says reach out and touch, he's not talking about touching.
No.
that's
It would be deemed child abuse now.
It's usually like in the form of like a short-heeled shoe that
A slipper.
could spike you in the head.
oh, my mom used to throw slippers.
Oh, shit. My mom used a
champ.
cleat on my brother one time. I wasn't even mad. I was impressed. I was like, on both ends of the beating and the resiliency of the person being beaten, which is my brother. But anyways,
That's fantastic.
You know,
here's a
the
shout
mom.
out to you mothers.
That is,
You're the unsung heroes.
by the way, that's
Really are.
called discipline, not abuse. Just
That's why we
put
all
that
turned
there
out so
for
well.
you.
And we'll talk. Speaking of mothers, it's that will lead into this episode, because I should have probably said it right off the bat. Guys, we're going to be talking about prohibition of alcohol starting in the 1920 with the Volstead Act. And we'll get to that eventually.
Eventually.
I just want to set you guys up so you'll stick around long enough through the bullshit to when we start actually getting to the point. But women played a huge role in that, which was it's pretty cool, and I bring that up now so one of you guys will remind me to bring it back up again, because it's worth noting, because it was a huge it was a huge movement, and for women and suffrage and the abolishment of slavery eventually that actually women started. So I just want to remember to bring that up again later because it's definitely worth noting. So
They did so well with suffrage and slavery, and then just totally screwed it up with prohibition.
they're big on suffrage. They make us suffer as men often.
I don't think that's what that word means.
I know. I'm kidding.
Diaspora.
Yes. Thank you, Luke. A whale's vagina.
Nope, not part of this conversation.
No.
Check it out.
But
See you when we get back.
so a black guy, a Jew, and a honky walk into a bar. They start a podcast.
I like it.
That's essentially
This is
what
essentially.
Is that the joke and the punchline all in one?
Yes,
No, that was
exactly.
That was the build up and the punchline, folks.
It
You're
was all-
welcome.
Don't expect much from me, and you'll be happy.
Congratulations.
So, what has everybody been up to? It's been a while since we've.
You know, there was something I was supposed to bring up back in the last podcast, and I did not.
Ooh, do it now.
Could you
I
bring
am
it up?
going to. Several months ago, I played in a flag football tournament in Seattle
Oh, right.
for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're trying to find a cure for all those poor folks suffering with that. And, well, I learned a valuable lesson. One, I'm old.
You would never tell it with you though, because you are a beautiful human being.
Doesn't sound
Like
old,
if I
doesn't
would,
look
if
old.
I was Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs, I would wear Chris's skin.
You
There's
are not the
so
first
many
person.
ways to go with
You're
that.
not the 1st person to tell me that very creepily.
Yeah,
But just saying. But no, it's something. If anyone's interested, you should look into it. Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. I play with a team, Two Beers, out of Seattle. Not to step on Menace, but it's a brewery out of Seattle. They have Two Beers. They also have Seattle's cider, where they do a lot of different cider flavors. You know, real good if you're in Seattle.
You've told me about this place before. Yeah, they seem like an excellent.
Oh,
place.
they are.
And food. They have food there or food trucks.
They
Is
have
that
a
how-
food truck.
Yeah.
that works inside the building, and then also, you know,
And
they
they're
travel.
the team sponsor.
Yeah, that's correct. They were played for that team. It was a good time. If you're in Seattle, stop in, Two Beers, and it was for a really good cause. Got to meet Walter Jones.
I remember you showed me that picture. I was so jealous.
Did you see the ring?
Just, like when you showed me that picture, like I was like, just if for those of you that listen and don't watch, I made the motion of getting an erection. So the Walter Jones is a Seahawk fucking legend, Hall of Famer, and yeah, the ring, his Hall of Fame ring, it was like the size of a golf ball.
It was the size of my head. It
Yeah.
was.
In diamonds.
He dwarfs me.
Really?
Yeah, and so you think like that, and then you think like Super Bowl rings are even crazier than that.
He played with that ring on.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
On two, it's impressive on two ends. One that he played with it on, two that he didn't injure anybody with that fucking ring.
Exactly. But
Like,
but my buddy Julio caught an interception for him. So shouts out to Julio.
No shit?
Great job. Oh yeah.
Oh, damn. So
that'd be nice. Did he showboat in front of him?
No.
I would not.
terrified of being
He
killed.
did talk.
Yeah.
He did talk a little shit on Instagram.
Because
though.
I think
It was
Walter's
funny.
like 6'7".
Well, you saw the man.
he still looks like
dwarfed
he looks like he could still play.
Yeah.
Like he's takes good care of himself.
Good for him.
So yeah, no, that was a good time. If next year September same time they'll start it up again, and so people, you should look into it.
What's the tournament called again, Chris?
It's just flag football tournament for Crohn's and Colitis. I was trying to look up.
And
the
those of you guys that don't know about Crohn's and colitis, they're debilitating to those that suffer from those. It's intense pain, hugely inflammatory inside your body, causes a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain, and it's tough on your quality of life just because there's a lot of things you can't eat. There's a lot of things you can't drink.
There's a lot of things you can't do because
You can't do. You have to be. Anyone suffering that has to have an incredible amount of discipline to manage their symptoms, and so yeah, anything that can go out to finding a cure for that is a noble and worthy cause.
I think we should all do it next year.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
We have to take time off. Is that short change weekend or is it the 4 nights?
I honestly didn't say.
I think it's short change. I
I don't
remember you being
remember taking time off.
You're an athlete, Luke.
No, man.
That was the joke.
He snowboards. He's in shape. He snowboards.
I snowboard.
I love your look right now, though.
I went total hipster. I was gonna wear glasses, but I didn't.
I was almost gonna say like it's like almost like we're time warped in like 1990, and it's like Pearl Jam or something like that. Like,
God, I like.
that's what I was thinking about. That's what I liked about it.
Oh, thanks.
After the 90s, I think life in general just kind of got worse. But
I think it did for everyone, really. I really think it did.
Anywho, anything you'd like to bring up?
No, I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I've been cutting back on my drinking, so I've been very boring.
Oh, coward.
Do you want to do the drink now, and then we'll dive into the prohibition thing?
Yeah, guys.
Or do you want to take the break?
Like
now?
we talked about last time. Yeah, maybe we'll take a quick break first.
All right, good. Well,
what are we on here?
Because I need
a few minutes in, or
we're at 380. I don't know what that means still.
All right. I always forget to set a timer. The like all these fucking devices in front of me, like a goddamn idiot. They're just for show.
Just for show.
So, guys, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna do one of our featured segments that Luke kills it in, and that's making a drink that's gonna tell us a little story about prohibition in itself.
It actually will.
So, we'll see you guys in a few minutes. You'll hear from our sponsor, Anchor.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Back.
All right, welcome back, guys.
All right.
So like I talked about previously, one of the things we want to do is, or we are doing, is Luke is getting so fucking good at making drinks.
You're too sweet.
We gotta shine on him a little bit, and so he can give a shine right back to you. And he's gonna make a prohibition cocktail. And Luke, can you tell us a little bit about it? Because I'm really intrigued. You told me probably 3 times, but I have dementia at the age, so I'm comfortable with it now. It's
You meet new people every day.
yeah, it's kind of fun. It's
going to be a wild journey for you. Yeah, the Bronx, the most interesting cocktail I've ever read about. Wildest thing about it, or one of the wildest things about it, I suppose, and that was 1.5 ounces of gin. Is that it was.
And what kind of gin are we using?
We're using
figure it might be cool to kind of.
Uncle Val's.
Is that showing up on the?
Yeah. Uncle Val botanical gin. I like it.
I like the stuff with the extra botanicals in it.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Gives it a little more
flavor notes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was looking for.
That was 1.5 ounces.
Yeah.
The guy who came up with this cocktail didn't drink. His name was...
Tell me more.
I know, right? I don't understand it. That was all the book said, and that was the end of it, and I couldn't find any more information, apparently. And that's 1/4 ounce of sweet vermouth. He didn't drink. He was a bartender. He didn't drink. Figure that one out. And not that he didn't drink at the time. He just never drank.
Well, this is one of... when you mentioned that, because we talked a little bit off camera about it, that wasn't as rare as one might think during the years leading up to Prohibition, and even including Prohibition, where there was a pretty strong following of men and women that really thought it was un-American to drink, yet still didn't mind profiting on, I guess, the quote-unquote sins of others, which is not lost on us in today's age. It's funny. I'm maybe slightly off. I don't know if it's the actual church that owns it or if it's just some hardcore Mormons that own the Coca-Cola company.
Oh, right.
That view caffeine as a sin, yet peddle it like it's going out of style.
Never smoke your own supply, man.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, and that's I think that was one of Eazy-E's songs, like "Don't get high off your own supply."
Right.
You know,
it's just good business, really.
It is, but so this is kind of an early instance of that.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I don't know if he was morally opposed to drinking. He just didn't drink.
Yeah, I mean, I am assuming a lot. That's what I do. It's my role.
It's fine.
It's
So it was an ounce and a half of gin, quarter ounce dry vermouth, quarter ounce sweet vermouth, 1 ounce of orange juice. And that was it. Super easy cocktail.
And those of you that are just listening and watching, I was going to talk through the technique you were using.
Well, it's refined.
It was more of a straight and then an angle. If you've ever been in a gangbang and had to masturbate 2 people at once, it's about what it would look like.
One of the most important things about how you shake a cocktail is make sure it doesn't look provocative.
And this is another reason why my mother will never know about
Once
this.
again, Chris is ashamed to be here.
He's not off camera because he's ugly. He's off camera because he doesn't want to be associated with us.
and I can't blame him.
I can't blame him at all. Here, why don't you take this one?
Oh, shit. Thank you.
You can tell the audience what it tastes like.
So you told us the gin. You
Yes.
left out the other.
Oh, quarter ounce dry vermouth, quarter ounce sweet vermouth.
This is really good.
Dude, it's delicious.
Yeah.
And the guy who came up with it didn't drink. And then 1 ounce orange juice and an ounce and a half of gin. Other interesting note about the Bronx cocktail. The mayor, I think his last name was Harvey, of Palm Beach, Florida, when he was visiting New York, claimed that the land boom in Florida, because there was a land boom in Florida in 1925, was due to the fact that the Bronx cocktail was so popular that people needed juicier oranges than California oranges, so they're buying up.
Really?
No shit.
So he parlayed that into some increased state revenue, apparently.
Well, yeah, right. So during Prohibition, when it was illegal to drink, a cocktail was so popular that it inflated land values in Florida. Figure that one out.
So is that because of the boom it created in the agricultural industry?
Yeah, there was such a demand for oranges that people had to buy up land, inflating land values, just so people could get enough Bronx cocktails to quench their thirst.
That's pretty crazy.
Dude, isn't that from one cocktail?
Yeah.
Allegedly. I don't know. I'm just saying what I've read. Oh, and I read that in this book, which is a great little book, Contraband Cocktails by Paul Dixon.
And then what was the other one you had there? A Drinkable Feast?
Oh, Drinkable Feast. This one I don't think we're going to talk about much. This was a great book, too. This talks more about Prohibition years over in France, Paris.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up now because I remember. I think we had discussed. No, what?
Go ahead.
I think I stupidly asked a question in one of our prior episodes when I think we hit on Prohibition like briefly because it was like a segue to some other topic we were hitting on, but I didn't know if we were the only country that experimented with this.
Oh, I remember this.
And at the time, I think we all thought that yes, we were. But surprisingly, I'm kind of going back to hit on a little history, which I always like to do because I think it kind of paints a better wide spectrum picture of how things are folding out. Our neighbors to the north, surprisingly, enacted Prohibition several years prior to the passing of the Volstead Act of the United States.
No shit.
They, however, realized what a massive failure it was after only a couple years before that was repealed. And that's actually part of the reason why Canadian liquors, primarily whiskey, became such a big thing in the United States. Because when it was lifted in Canada, drinking had kind of been quelled so much they needed another market for it. And when Prohibition started in the United States, that surprisingly, that rebound effect that it had of making alcohol illegal made it that much more desirable. And it was illegal for the United States to import it, but it wasn't illegal for Canada to export it to the United States. So they took a huge advantage of that, and it's kind of a funny thing.
That's classic Canada and classic USA.
Yeah,
USA makes something illegal, and everyone is like, well, if this is illegal, I have to serve it in my home. And Canadians are like, well, it's illegal, so I guess I won't drink it. Like, Prohibition had the opposite effect on American industry.
It's really
But
funny.
apparently in Canada, they were like, Well, can't do that, eh?
Yeah, but it ended up being like a symbiotic relationship, with that.
That's funny.
And to this day, Canadian whiskeys, remained a pretty prominent seller in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
From the foundation it laid back then. But kind of to go back even further, for the ground that was laid, that eventually laid out what led to Prohibition, back in the Revolutionary War, prior to that, there was no liquor tax, even from King George to England. Is where the first liquor tax was established. That was one of Washington's first acts as president, the first president of the United States. And surprisingly enough, because he had his own distillery, as from our last episode.
Yeah, 2
we
episodes.
found
Yeah,
out.
whenever that was. Whiskey
Yeah.
Rebellion. Yeah, we talked about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Washington enacted that first liquor tax, and that's actually when the moonshiners began. And that's when the term, actually in the 1700s, late 1700s, that's when the term was first coined.
No shit.
Because it pushed all the people that were, not that there were massive cities around then, but it was much easier for people living on the outskirts of, what resembled cities that we had back then, to go about their business and make alcohol and pass it around and without being taxed on it. Because obviously, and, to no fault of Washington, we were in a massive debt to several countries after the Revolutionary War, and we needed to find a way to pay that debt.
Right.
Which, from what I've read, we tried, and then eventually when we realized we probably couldn't, we told those countries to go pound sand, and that they just weren't going to get paid. And those other countries were like, but I think that's kind of what we still do.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get there eventually.
We'll have to
Yeah,
ask
no.
the Chinese, because I think they
Yes.
probably own more of this country than I would like to ever know.
Probably. I had to go
don't
back.
know.
There's one last interesting detail about the Bronx. Oddly enough, the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill W., I guess he's somewhat anonymous.
Uh-huh.
He
I got that.
yeah,
Give me
you
a
got it.
second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm an idiot. Oh, Jesus.
He credits this drink to starting his alcoholism.
No shit.
No
Well, I
shit.
mean, it is a good drink.
I mean, I don't.
It's not crack or anything, but
No.
I suppose at the time,
Maybe have some more.
that's true.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, going along there, and then... So that's kind of where things started, and then we fast forward a little bit to the Civil War, which is where the beginning of what we call the Temperance Movement sort of started. And the Temperance Movement was really important for a lot of reasons, because, and this is where I'm probably going to come off as sounding like a pseudo-feminist in a lot of ways. Men weren't doing a lot of things for labor laws, the abolishment of slavery, giving women the right to vote, things like that. All those things were pressed by women in these temperance groups. And so it sort of started around then, and it was sort of fueled by the influx of Catholics and Protestants that was immigrating to the United States at the time. I can't remember if someone can Google it really quick when the Civil War started and ended.
1863.
Okay, so perfect.
I don't know. I'm
Okay,
guessing.
does
It was
that-
in the 60s though. I think it was 3 through 7.
Do you
or
mind
something.
looking that up real quick? So, and as I mentioned prior, in 1863 to from 1860 to 1890, I think I was telling you, the population in the United States
Oh, yeah.
went
Yep.
from about 60 million to around 95 million. And so there's a huge increase, and these temperance groups were getting larger and larger, and pressing for, again, things like the abolishment of slavery, shorter work days eventually, but mostly the evils of alcohol. And there was good and bad involved in that, because as Catholics and Protestants have always been at odds with each other.
Right.
And so they wanted some good to come out of this, but they also wanted to fuck the Irish at the same time. So which becomes a reoccurring theme as we get, deeper into Prohibition, getting up into the 1900s and whatnot. But some interesting stuff. So that's kind of what sort of laid down the groundwork of that. And it wasn't for a bad reason. From all accounts, eyewitness accounts, and reading several things, we've all watched several documentaries leading up to this and read a bunch of stuff to try to get ready for this podcast. The picture that was painted was let's say the street outside front here was just a city street. The picture it paints is that it would be lined with drunkards and people just passed out. We've read the statistics that the average American aged 15 and older, 88 bottles of whiskey a year.
That's impressive.
That's average. So as we talked about, kind of off camera, that's some people are probably drinking 3 times that, and some people are drinking 3 times less that. But that's a lot. The fact remains, that's a lot of whiskey.
Oh, it's a ton. Now, granted, it was lower proof, and the caveat is we don't know how big the bottles were. Everyone says bottles. You have no idea if it was really a fifth. Maybe it was.
It seemed to avoid argument, it's safe to assume it was at least a pint.
Yeah, I think
because that's the lowest amount that would be prescribed by doctors.
No matter what, it was a lot of alcohol.
Yeah,
more than I drink, which is impressive.
So even 88 pints of whiskey, and I've heard just a little extra studying I was doing today said something upwards of 100 quarts. That it was not uncommon to drink a quart of whiskey a day.
4 quarts in a gallon.
So a quart of whiskey a day, that's 365 quarts.
That's a lot.
That's still
a quart of whiskey a day per person. Jeez.
So
that's a lot.
So the fact remains, or what we're saying is, alcohol had become an epidemic in the United States and Canada at this time. So there's something that needed to be done. What happened, as we'll find out later on, you can't take an extreme position on one side or the other, because extreme positions, as you find, if you're inflexible, if you're unwilling to compromise, you can go so far on that train, but eventually it will crash.
In America.
And anywhere.
Well, I guess
look at historically, anywhere. It's you can go on a hot streak for a while, being an uncompromising person, as the line in Braveheart when he's talking to his son. Uncompromising people are easy to admire.
That's in Braveheart?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had a son in Braveheart. Oh wait, Braveheart was the son.
But
got it. I remember this.
But the word.
I remember this movie now.
But everything is truly built on compromise.
Oh yeah.
And so it's and that's sort of a premonition, or should shine a light on kind of some things we're dealing with now in this country, and we'll probably deal with in the future. Is that if we have uncompromising views on marijuana, psilocybin, climate change, immigration, things like that, no side's going to win. They'll win for a little bit, maybe.
Right, maybe 13 years.
But there'll be a backlash. Yeah. And it's incredible that Prohibition lasted that long.
It lasted that long. That was in the end of it. A lot of this is in that Ken Burns documentary, obviously. So if you haven't watched it on Netflix,
okay, so you can't really say Prohibition last. I mean, it was around for a very long time.
Yeah.
But anybody remember, I don't know, a man named Al Capone?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Who became one of the biggest mob bosses because of Prohibition.
Right.
It was around for a long time, but people were getting around it.
I want to say, so they kept it in as long as they did was because they avoided doing a census in 1922, 24, 26, 28.
Oh, not
It wasn't until the 1930 they finally did another census, and that shifted the demographics to mostly city dwellers and less people in the country, and so it's more wets than dries now, and then it failed shortly after that.
I mean, it's not somehow. It's they were able to not do it because they chose not to do it.
Right.
It wasn't
They had the majority, so they were like, maybe we won't recount.
And surprisingly enough, because by all accounts, it's easy to look at and say it was a monumental failure. But if you look at what exactly the temperance movement was specifically set out to try to do, because, I mean, let's be honest, Prohibition gave birth to organized crime.
Pretty wild.
Essentially gave birth to, I mean, I imagine there was corruption that was in politics before that. This basically was this, the gasoline on that fire.
Yeah.
To spread and infuse more corruption in the government, from local up, all the way up to the federal side. It was a gateway for our government to massively expand and intrude on people's lives.
Right.
And there's several other things
It glorified people that broke the law, which up until that time was
made
not
them
normal.
Folk heroes.
People admired bootleggers more than they admired revenuers. Revenuers were viewed as more corrupt because the bootlegger was just supplying a demand that everyone wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The revenuer was usually taking bribes, not fulfilling his job duties, and at worst, he was actually arresting bootleggers, which made him very unpopular. Glorified organized crime, and then on the, I guess, not good or bad side, it actually changed American language, oddly enough. Americans didn't have slang until Prohibition. You have a call on your watch?
No.
Do we have a live? We don't have someone live?
Well, I could talk. I'll just step.
Welcome, first caller.
Hey, man, what's going on? We're recording the podcast right now, so you're kind of a guest.
Hold it to the front.
Are you there?
He
must have butt dialed me.
He doesn't want to be a guest. But yeah, apparently.
Oh, Jesus.
Apparently,
my brother keeps trying to call me. And okay, here he is again. All right, Sean. We're recording the podcast right now, so you're a guest right now.
Well, put me on speaker. It's about time. You guys have me at the gap.
Is it picking up?
Oh yeah, it's picking up. You can hold a little farther away.
I have things to say.
Well,
things to say.
Go on.
Well, don't let me stop you, ladies and gentlemen. This is my brother. I'm of course not going to give his name out.
Don't turn your phone.
Don't get my name.
No. This way? Which way? Oh.
Introduce your bro, dude. And give me the subject, and I'll give you my input on it, dude. I promise you.
Oh, we're talking about Prohibition.
Oh, probably the worst thing that's ever happened in America, and let me tell you why, dude.
Would you please?
I have some opinions on Prohibition, and I'm glad you asked me that. And I'm glad your buddy's there to hear this, because I've watched the podcast, and I like his input. I think he evens you out. I think he's a good member of whatever you guys got going on. Here's my issue with Prohibition.
Okay.
Pros and cons.
All right.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're ready.
Are you ready?
Chris, you ready?
Okay.
We're ready.
All right.
I'm not mean to take over, but here's what I'm doing. So here's the thing. Are booze good for people?
It's like hearing me on the phone,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
It is.
What?
What was that question?
Yeah. Sorry. Go one more time.
Okay. Can we swear? On
Yeah.
the podcast?
You bet your fucking ass you
Okay.
can. This is America, Sean.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about alcohol for a second. Is it good? Fuck no. I mean, what good has ever come from alcohol?
And that's a great point. Like,
okay, no, hold on. I'll give you one good thing: the Declaration of Independence, Heath Ovens, and here's why. Do you think any one of those dumb fucks was sober when they wrote that thing?
they weren't actually.
No, they weren't, dude. they were literally huddled up in the bar, and it was basically a bunch of fucking asses. You know what I mean? Going like, I'm so sick of this England telling us what to do, and I don't know. You know what I mean? And they fucking got hammered, and they're like, John Hancock was the drunkest one of all of them. He's like, fuck you! Trying to build this giant thing. They're like, hit me first, dude. None of those guys meant that at the time.
He's not wrong.
Fucking, like, no, I'm not wrong.
I know you're not wrong. You, Jesus.
When that ship sailed the next morning, I guarantee every single one of those guys. Oh shit.
Oh yeah, they're probably like we did what?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like that Eddie Murphy thing when he's talking about like a bunch of people got fucked up and be like, let's vote for Jesse Jackson. He fucking won.
Exactly. Exactly. But this is real. But this is reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
I think that's how this country was born. Booze. Liquid courage. Or if you want to call it liquid fucking stupidity, because either they're really brave or really stupid. And let's just face it, the dynamic and the margin of error right there is so feather slim.
Oh, that line between bravery and stupidity is incredibly thin. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, no, there's the good things with alcohol. It's born in our country. I'm going to say born, I mean B-O-R-N-E, with a little hyphen over the E. There's countless things that are negative with alcohol, right? There are. Let's talk about people getting crazy, people going after each other, emotional stuff that doesn't have to come up, it does come up because this thing triggers this.
It's one of the leading issues, that contributes to domestic violence and abuse.
And murder.
Yeah.
So for your audience, all three of them, including me, so there's two.
Oh, four.
No, I'm kidding. Dude.
Thank you. That's giving us the
brother.
benefit of the doubt.
I'm kidding. No, I am a faithful watcher of your podcast because I do think it's interesting, and it's not just because you're my brother. You guys have a good what's the word I'm looking for? Tree. You guys have good chemistry. You know what I mean? You really do. Mm-hmm. You got like the long haired kind of hippie guy. You know, your buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Luke, he's right here.
Thanks, dude.
Luke, don't take this. But I mean, and you got like this Adonis, tanned boho, you know what I mean? Who's basically a bigger version of me. Because like when people ask me,
he's talking about me now, apparently.
Yeah, I'm talking about him. And like when people at work ask me, they go, "You have brothers?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. I got an old one and a young one." And they go, What's the other one? I go, "Well, he's a U.S. attorney. He's kind of a nerd." You know what I mean? He goes, "What about the younger one?" I go, "Well, he's basically like me, except he's like 6'5" and he's a lot stupider." And they literally can't believe it. You know what I mean?
6'5" and a lot stupider.
Yeah, a lot stupider. Because we're built the same. I mean, like, I'm a buff guy. I mean,
he is.
I am.
He is.
I am, dude. I'm out there, bro. But you are insanely, like, crazy. Like, 300 style should have been, like, in the movies type thing. You know what I mean? Maybe you still will.
I would pay to watch that.
But, I mean, like, you are literally, like, Spartan gross. And I hate to do this, but I will give you those props. I really will.
That's literally the nicest thing you've ever said to me. I think.
I've said a lot of nice things about you.
I think you say them in.
I just said them to you.
I think you say them in your head, but you never say them to me.
Well, here now I'm saying them in front of the whole world.
That's true. That's a good point.
Your audience.
That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're a legit Adonis. I mean, you're like me at 6'5", and just ripped and just not quite as smart and definitely not as quick. You know what I mean? We got that going for us. So let's get back to the subject here. Because I don't want to take away from your podcast here. Yeah. I don't want to take over. I don't want to make it all about you, Heath. I know everything all about you, but not today, brother. Not today. All right. So as far as alcohol, yes. Let's just say I worked in emergency services for the last I want to say like 22 to 3 years.
Yeah,
Right?
public safety, emergency services. Yeah, a combo between.
Yeah, we'll go that route.
Yeah.
And we might even go the further route and just by saying, an elite portion of that.
Right.
If you want to even go that route. We're not using mine, but we might use the acronyms SWAT. We might, right?
Okay.
Even if we weren't, that's okay. The point is, I think that I don't think, I know
Right.
that through my vast experiences of all the scrubs, uniforms, and armor that I've worn, and helmets, and night vision, things like that, alcohol probably has 90+% of the dues of people just not being able to control themselves.
Right. And that's kind of some of the stuff that's a lot of the stuff we're talking about.
So, absolutely. You know what I mean? Do I think it should be illegal? It's almost like, no, but at the same time, it's like,
It's odd how like that and
it's the most what's the word I'm looking for, dude? It's how you get things. It's easy to get things.
it's odd how it's with all the destruction that it's caused that it's still I guess escaped a lot of the regulation that goes with like other like narcotics and things like that.
What's I'm looking for? It's like something that's easy to get. It's help me out, Luke. Luke, where are you?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Easy to get. It's easy to.
It's
Accessible. It's
Accessible.
That's the one.
That's the word. Yeah.
Very accessible.
Thanks, Luke. It's the most easily accessible, like flipping psychoactive thing in the world. I mean, it sounds psychoactive. I don't know, but seriously, dude.
Yeah.
It absolutely is an issue. It really is.
Right.
So as far as prohibition goes, man, dude. That's a tough call, bro. What's your call on that? What's actually not yours? What's Luke's opinion on this? Where are you, Luke?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right.
What's
your opinion on this? Knowing what you know, because watching the podcast and being a fan of the podcast, because I am. I know you like your booze. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
But you also, yeah, bro. And I love that, dude. But you're also not a fucking nut. You're also not an asshole. You know what I mean? You're obviously someone who can control his booze. You can go to what's it called? What's that thing that Mom has, Heath?
April Brews Day.
April Brews Day, yeah.
Yeah, April Brews Day.
I love that thing, right? April Brews Day. Mom, and granted, Roberta is a quicker cutter offer. You're gonna talk about Luke, you can cut off. It's like, okay.
I believe her word is overserved. I believe.
I get it, but I guarantee Luke had a lot more booze left in him before he really got crazy. You know what I mean? And Roberta's idea of overserved is
I feel like you know him better than I do.
He knows me so well.
What's the podcast, bro? What's a podcast?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like I'm some stranger walking in here and going like, hey, oh my god, I'm some stranger on the street. I'm some guest thing. No, I'm a guest because I know you, Heath Evans. Yeah. Because you're my brother. And I've been watching podcasts and I feel like I know Luke. And I don't think Luke is some guy who goes fucking nuts after a few fucking drinks. And I guarantee Luke can down a few, and then a few more, and a few more before he really gets crazy. And I don't think even then Luke's going to get crazy.
He knows me.
So I want to hear Luke's. I want to hear Luke's opinion on this stuff. So here's mine. And to be honest, I really don't have an opinion on it. I think booze is good. I also think booze can do a lot of destruction to people. Look, the floor.
So the floor is Luke's right now.
That's the only reason it passed is because people saw it could be destructive, and people were like, we should make it illegal. But just because you make something illegal doesn't mean people stop getting it. If anything, it increases the demand, and then the demand goes through illegal suppliers instead of legal suppliers.
Luke, can you speak closer, at least to the phone? So I can hear you?
Yeah. Here, I'll come over to your mic. So the
Can you hear him okay?
Much better, bro.
perfect. So the
I can't wait to see the podcast. It's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait to see it either. The problem is you can't making something illegal doesn't make it inaccessible. That's the real problem. They said it became harder to find a drink after Prohibition ended than while Prohibition was in effect. Because as soon as they ended Prohibition, all of a sudden bars had to close. People couldn't serve at 4 a.m. The people had to have a business license to open a business to serve alcohol. When Prohibition was in effect, if you had a room and 2 people, you had a speakeasy. As long as you had liquor in there, you were good to go. So the problem is you can't legislate morality. If making a law made people go like, oh, that's a bad idea, I'll follow the law, which sometimes it does, like murder for the most part.
That worked real well, murder.
Well, I mean, for the most part, if murder wasn't illegal, you might have more people doing it. But because I know I'll go to prison if I kill someone, when I'm super angry, I don't go, oh, I'm going to murder this guy. But stuff like alcohol...
You know what? Yeah, but Luke, you're a rational person, it sounds like. And even despite crazy hair, I think you got a good head under that shoulders, or over that shoulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, thank you.
I don't think even your booziest state, no matter how mad you get, you're gonna like, oh, I'm so mad at my wife. You know what? I'm just gonna break this thing over her head and fuck it. You know what I mean? I just don't see that. There are people who can handle this shit, and there are people who can't.
Yeah.
The problem with booze is it's the same problem with weed. Some people can't handle their weed. Everyone's like, oh, weed. Oh, everyone's going to be all mellow. Well, no, they're not.
Really?
Some people go fucking crazy on marijuana. Some people get so fucking paranoid, they go fucking goddamn crazy.
No
really
shit.
do. You know what I mean?
I had no idea, actually. This is all news to me.
Oh, my God, yes. There are people who go legitimately absolutely crazy on weed because they get super paranoid, they get super scared, and they fucking go nuts. It happens. It happens. Does it happen?
It fucking happens.
No shit.
It can happen.
It absolutely can happen.
My God. What Pasco Rock you've been living under, bro? I'm kidding.
There's really not much to hide under in Pasco. It's really a desert shithole. But it's
that's why I said rock. I mean, there's got to be a rock in it somewhere. But I mean, like, in all honesty, guys, I mean, there's like any chemical you introduce to the brain.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, no matter how, it's going to be foreign, okay? And not every person, it's like a diet. Some people react really well with vegan diets. It's interesting. I like to meet these people. Some people like Hollandies that react well to all. You know what I mean? Some people can drink all day long and be completely normal, and some people can like have a drink and fucking freak out.
Dude, that's the truth.
And it's interesting with that, like in a physiological sense, because there's some drugs like we have. Like in our bodies, we've got natural receptors to things. We have natural opiate receptors. We have natural cannabinoid receptors. And
absolutely.
But when we start introducing the artificiality of those into our body, it starts having like a different effect. Like when we go on a run, like endorphins, like an endorphin high. An endorphin is an opiate, but that's an opiate that's supposed. Yeah, it's naturally produced by your body, but cannabinoids aren't naturally produced by your body. Yet we have receptors for them in the brain, so there's a place for them in daily life. But alcohol is. Well, I know. But the point I'm trying to make is that alcohol. There's nothing your body has to react with alcohol, because alcohol is nothing more than a poison to your body. I drink it, obviously. I enjoy it.
You're right now. I almost guarantee it.
Oh, of course I have a drink in my hand as I'm holding the phone up to the microphone.
Jesus Christ! Well, I can't see it. But I'm only guessing.
I'm not condoning alcohol in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying. I'm just calling it what it is.
Yeah.
It is a poison.
All right. And this is how the country was born. So I God bless you both. I'm not looking down on either one of you. Mm-hmm. I am sober November.
I thought you were doing No Nut November.
No, I'm doing super. Here's what I'm doing. I'm doing no negativity November. No negativity November is what I'm doing.
Oh, that's actually a good one.
I like that.
That's the first time I've heard of that. Guy, to our listeners, hold on one second. Guys, if you never heard of this, it's no negativity November, which that might be the best thing I've ever heard of.
It's a Sean original. I came up with it today.
Okay.
You know, right next to my shirtless selfie. You know what I mean? Because I was looking good. I was feeling good. I did a progress pic, and I was feeling really good about how far I've come from last, I want to say March to now.
You do look fantastic. You look.
And that's why I'm calling you out in Danny Loveridge. Every time I post something like that, I'm calling you.
I know, but the thing is, I still look so much better than you. I don't want you to feel bad about the progress you've made.
Well, you can say that all you want, dude, but until you start bucking up, you gotta nut up or shut up, bro.
All right.
And no one is seeing dick out of you, other than talk. I talk a big game about you. I'm the one who's saying my brother is a big, ripped, badass motherfucker, but no one sees shit. So you're like Bigfoot. Okay, something you hear about, but you never actually see. You're like an alien. Great.
All right.
You're like Bobby Dick. Everyone's heard about you, but no one's actually seen you.
I'm taking. All right. Fuck. I'm taking your bait. I will take your bait.
You better start. Yeah.
Our listeners are about to hear me and my brother have a fucking meltdown on each other.
Yeah. No one thinks you exist. No one thinks you exist.
All right.
They've heard about you. You're like a tooth fairy. They don't think you exist. You're just myth.
All right, Sean.
You're a myth, dude.
Sean.
You're a myth.
Sean.
You're this big, strong, muscular myth. You're a big tan, blue-eyed, smile face. All right.
Hey.
Get back to Prohibition.
Hey.
Yo.
I love you.
I love you too.
All right.
Alcohol, though. I want to talk about it because it is honestly, there's an argument, dude, for I don't want to say illegal, but maybe having a fucking license. You know what I mean? It's like having a kid. Like any fucking jack off in the world can have a kid, right?
Right.
Right.
That is an interesting point. Like we can bring someone into all this shit.
You can go
but
fishing. You
like,
have a fucking life to go fishing, bro. It taxes you to go fishing. It taxes you to live. It taxes you to goddamn fucking buy cans of chew. I buy cans of chew at the reservation. You know why?
And just hold on one second.
If I go to Arco, it was like $10 for a can of chew.
I know. Just hold on. Just hold on one second. I just want to explain to the listeners what you're saying. If that didn't come across as clearly to everybody, he's making an excellent point. Like, we have these licenses for something as simple as fishing, but any fucking moron on the planet Earth can bring as many people into the world as they want to, with zero repercussions. In fact, it's the complete opposite of that. There's not repercussions. There's actually incentives to do that because the government will give you more money. So it's really fucking strange.
Yeah, correct. And like the thing is, I don't want to get too political because I don't know enough about it to even talk.
Right.
I will say this.
Okay.
I will say this.
All right.
The government will tax you and charge you to go and take wildlife out of the wild. You know, they charge you for a fucking hunting tag.
Yeah, you're right. They charge you for a hunting tag. Yep.
Right? So you got to go in the woods. You got to go out there. I mean, you're working, and you might even get one. You have to go out there. Oh, there's an elk. Oh, boom. All right, dude, you got your elk. You know, and then you got to like haul it out and all that. That's work. That's hard work. You're paid to do that.
Right?
It's free to have a kid, and it's not only free. It's easy. All you have to do is have sex. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my, and not have an abortion. You know, it's free. It's free and it's easy, but you have to pay to go out and goddamn be a man, you know, to get wilderness, you know,
Right, I hear it. You got to pay to do all, like, when you go hunting, you got to pay for the license. You got to do the hard work of getting up in the mountains.
You got to be a fish, and
right.
This is something I don't do either of, man. I mean, like all my friends, they're big hunters, they're big fishermen. They're always going over the woods. They're like, hey, show them to come. I'm like, fuck no. I got paid to go out and be freezing, dude. You guys go ahead. I tell you what, come back and you have the barbecue. I'm gonna eat all the elk you want, bro. But I'm not gonna go out there and fucking hunt it. Fucking no.
Yeah.
I'm not an outdoorsman. There is a running bet from my guys on my team when the apocalypse happens. How many hours it will be before I die? You know what I mean? Of starvation or something. You know what I mean? There's a running bet. Okay?
All right.
I'm good at dude, there's a lot of things I'm good at. That's not one of them. And I respect the fuck out of hunters. I respect the fuck out of fishermen. I like them. That's the best meat in the world. A, I'm not good at it. B, you need to pay to do it. You're paid to do that. It's like, you know, and like, there's no fee to have a kid.
I hear you, man.
To, like, you know?
I hear you, yeah.
Where's Luke's input on this? I want to hear Luke.
Oh, God.
Yeah, listen to the smarter of the two.
Paying to have a kid? Oh, Jesus, dude. So, I think we tried that. I think that's what Planned Parenthood...
How many kids do you have, Luke?
What was that?
Luke, do you have kids? Do you have kids?
No, I have no kids.
Okay. Neither do I.
Yeah, no. I think Planned Parenthood was pretty much the start of the idea that we could we could control who had children in the U.S. It didn't work out necessarily.
You want to part them off and make them into like some sort of fucking like Amazon.com TV show called Westworld. I mean, where they meet part of the kids doing weird shit, you know?
Is that Westworld where they fuck robots or something?
I have no idea.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Okay.
is. You know?
I'm all for that personally, but
Cyborgs?
yeah.
Look, if the time comes, I'll Westworld it. Heath and Luke, I'll do it. But we got to pick the right time period.
That's
all right?
good. That's
I want to
good,
go. I'm not going full west, bro. That's played out. We're going. Here's what we're gonna do.
All right.
Here's what we're gonna do.
Tell us.
Here's the wrap, you fucks. We're gonna go. Okay.
Did you just call us fucks?
I did call you fucks.
I just want. I'm not mad. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the word. We're going Revolutionary War era.
Right.
All right?
Okay.
Bunker Hill. There's me, you, and Luke on Bunker Hill.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And we're just down the redcoats. That's what's going to happen. And they're about to overrun us, but since we're on Westworld, they can't hurt us. So we're just going to be superheroes. So we got, like, I'm going with that three-corner hat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just charging.
Right, and the high socks. Yeah.
Like, yeah. You, Heath, get injured right away.
Thank you for this. All right, thank you for making me a coward in this fantasy. There we go.
Well, no, you're not a coward. You're just going down.
Okay. All right.
Me and Luke go charging down the hill. All right, and we're just heroes, and we're out of ammo, and we're swinging our muskets like like tomahawks. I mean, it's like that. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a Westworld. Or I have actually thought of another one. Honestly, earlier, Jaws. How about that?
All right, I gotta stop you there. We gotta get back on the topic here.
Okay, yeah, back on the topic.
All right, I'll call you as soon as we're done.
Wait a second, dude. I'll give him a shot, dude. I'll give him a shot.
Well, I can't. It's tough to keep. All right, fuck it. Why not?
Yeah. No.
So where did we start off, or where did we end?
Yeah,
I'm totally. I got to try to remember on where we left off before you called.
I know. I'm telling you, Prohibition.
Okay, we were talking a little bit about history.
Oh, God.
To think of it, I think the
Prohibition, dude.
right the so going up to, I think I was talking about going in the Civil War. That's where the Temperance Movement started.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that.
And then we had started kind of talking about how the unintended effects of Prohibition started to take over. Thank you. Start becoming really prominent.
Had we gotten there?
I'll chime in.
I'm not sure if we had gotten there. I was so excited that my brother called. I was like, we gotta have him on.
I think
because like his fucking personality is like fucking awesome.
It's just like having two of you.
But at the same time, like in all that excitement, I totally forgot what the fuck I was talking about.
I think we should go on break. Make sure the sound is coming through.
Let's continue, dude.
Okay.
I'm into this.
Well, hey, Sean. We're gonna talk. We're gonna take a quick break. I just want to make sure your sound on the phone is coming through as good as it should.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, but stay on the line. We're just gonna take a little break, but I'm gonna keep you on the line. Okay.
I'm like special guest star, right?
Yeah.
At this point, pretty much.
You're goddamn right. You are.
All right. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back, guys. Here's a quick message from our sponsors.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the Tri-Cities, got in boot with the hair. In the best of the places in the Tri-Cities, the nuclear section of the world.
That was great. That was a great intro.
Yeah. It was an impromptu. I don't really know what to say. I didn't really know how much further to go. I could have,
Dude, you're just like your brother. So you're good.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is we're joined by my amazing brother on today's topic. We've been talking about Prohibition, some history and stuff like that. But we're kind of
your brother that shall remain unnamed.
Yeah, it's too late for that. I think you've said our last name and at this point. But anywho, we kind of switched gears a little bit and started talking about like kind of how things like alcohol and other addictive substances kind of affect our daily lives.
Oh God, well that's an easy subject. How far do you want to go, dude? I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, not to go over the subject again, guys, but let's talk about how. Honestly, dude, come on. In all honesty, other than like we talked about earlier, the alcohol literally caused a revolution. Good for them. It caused a lot of bravery and a lot of guys to do something really fucking stupid. It really did. Mm-hmm. All right, and good for us because we won. Right. Let's look at all the other effects of it. Do I think it should be legal? No. Have we talked about, like, maybe it should be, like, a license for it? Probably. It's the most accessible drug on the planet that causes the most mayhem and chaos than anything. Does coke cause problems?
So one a question for it, like, why... Do you think it was because I guess I'm looking at an aspect of because you look at there's a lot of illicit substances out there and narcotics and obviously some made it and some didn't as far as getting legalized.
Here's
what was it? Do you think it was just the early adapters that got in, or why do you think
I have no idea.
Alcohol was the one to escape?
Because it's easy to make, I think, and it's easy to drink and whatever. But here's what I was gonna put you off, and I for that. But here's my absolute fucking opinion on this. Like, does meth cause problems? Yes. Does coke cause problems? Yes. Does heroin cause problems? Yes. They're all addictive and they're all fucking deadly and destructive. But what really caused the problems? The means to get them: robbery, burglary, things like that.
Yeah.
The things to get the money to do that. Correct.
Uh-huh.
Alcohol, not really so much. You see the guys like they're panhandling for like the 30 cents to get your goddamn Four Loko at the 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? But you don't see that guy bust into your house because he needs to get like his dime bag of meth.
And that's you bring up a really good point because they're even like before Prohibition and even all through Prohibition, even up to now. The people that are making alcohol in their own domicile, like their own residence, is pretty high, and it's getting higher every year with like home brewers, home winemakers.
Our mom made wine forever.
Exactly. I grew up in that house.
It was easy. Me and TM, we'll call him TM.
Right.
Come home for football practice and get hammered every day. on mom's homemade wine. It was that easy to make. You know what I mean?
I know that. I was.
It's that easy.
You guys would usually beat me up after that.
Well, yeah. I've never beat you up.
I know. I'm kidding. But
You were way too big.
But yeah, the point I'm making is it's odd because the accessibility, and you brought this point up earlier, the accessibility of alcohol is it's incredibly easy, and you have a lot of people that make it in their own houses and stuff like that. But yet you don't have
it makes people crazy.
Yeah, but you don't have. Well, just 1 second. You don't have people breaking into residences, stealing people's homebrew, but you do have people breaking into a lot of residences, stealing things so they can acquire other drugs.
And robbing people and killing people to get other things. Right, and that's exactly
right.
I don't have.
It's odd.
In all honesty, dude, I don't have an answer for that.
Right, and I don't expect you to. It's just I guess the point I'm just trying to make is it's crazy because alcohol is an incredibly powerful drug, and by all accounts,
exactly,
alcohol and heroin are the only two drugs whose withdrawal symptoms can kill you, and so can kill you. Right, and so it's one of the most powerful drugs that exists in the world, yet its regulation is incredibly poor.
But I mean, like, if you look at some of these people, and Luke, chime in anytime you want, bro. But you look at some of these people who are narcotic addicts. You know, these people who end up on the street. They are honestly more often than not, like soccer moms and housewives and dudes and whatever who had surgery and got they had to get OxyContin because they had their surgery. And it's like, oh my god, I'm so fucking hooked on this shit. You know what I mean? I go into withdrawals. I'm gonna literally take that step, and dude, you'd be surprised at the people that do go to the street to get heroin to try and get that fixed. They keep going from that fucking withdrawal, bro.
Oh, your average soccer mom.
Often that happens, man. You know what I mean?
Your average soccer mom is one of those.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. You're talking about normal people, and like normal, you know, it's kind of a judgmental thing. Because you see these street urchins, you're like, oh my god, this is zombie land. And you're right. But you and I and Luke and little buddy in the background, we are only...
It's just for future reference, his name is Chris.
What's that? Yeah, Chris, is that his name? Okay. Well, we're all just like one bad day away from being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's true.
You know, it doesn't take long. I mean, I've run into... people in alleys, nurses, registered nurses, you know what I mean, buying dope. And they're just like, you know, they're caught, they're busted, they're going to lose a license and all that. It's like, how did you get here? It's like, oh, my husband had surgery, whatever. Like, dude, I mean, seriously, we're talking educated, white-collar alleys of a city I shall not say I may live and work in, but it's like, dude, I mean, it's scary. It really is. And alcohol, even worse, because it's you can buy that Four Loko, you know what I mean, and get that hammered. And like, I've never heard someone blacking out on weed. Maybe it's happened. I'm sure it's happened. And like I said before, people freak out on weed. They do, but I mean, like, people black out on alcohol, and it causes major problems. Major problems. Fights, murders, car accidents, you name it, rapes, all the above. You know, booze has almost, yet it's legal, and it's easily acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think about that?
What
do you think about that?
Honestly, the reason is probably prohibition. Now that we're back to it, they tried to make it illegal.
But there's people who can control their intake, like Luke. Luke can drink a fucking whiskey, I guarantee it, and probably hold a conversation. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, he can. I'm witness, and so is Chris.
I guarantee it. Heath Evans,
not so much. I've become basically a degenerate. Yeah.
He's just gonna want to start flexing. He's gonna fight. And by the way, I'm gonna want to fight. Me and Heath are gonna start rolling around, and Luke is gonna be the one refereeing. But I mean, like, there's guys guys who
This has literally happened.
And have, yeah, it's literally happened. But I mean, there's guys who can do that and have fun, and there's guys who just honestly, God can't control it. So it's like, what's the what am I looking for? What's the word, guy? You got
Yeah, that's the what
the measurement or the level, you know?
Right.
What is it? Yeah, well, what is it? Because I mean, like, there's got to be something. There's got to be something like, but we don't want someone monitoring us on how much. I mean, the government shouldn't say, "Oh, well, you've had 6 beers, now you can't drink anymore." That's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, fucking 15. We're like, dude, I'm watching the Seahawks game. I'll have like 15 fucking 20 beers. Woo, having a good time, right?
Yep.
Okay. Other people can have one and fucking just freak the fuck out. So it's like, no one is going to tell. So, and that therein lies the issue. Is illegal. There's no what's the word I'm looking for?
Can I bring up a point?
There's no regulation. There's no regulation. You know, and it's a free for all.
Okay, just give me one.
I started drinking when I was I think 11 or 12 years old. At the time, my neighbor came home from the army from Germany, and he, I think, was 19 or 20. What, you got a fake ID?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a sergeant now for
Seattle Police Department, I believe.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's not Seattle. It's not Seattle. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, him and I met like when we were grown ups later. But anyway, he brought a bunch of beer, and there's some chicks there, and we were partying. And I was like, I was in like, I want to say 7th grade, and I had, I think, 3 or 4 Lucky Lagers, and and I was all of 113 pounds. I peed on myself. I threw up. Managed to make it upstairs with my mom not knowing, or did she? Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Went to school the next day, but I never looked back. I mean, I was alcohol had always been a part of my life since then. You know what I mean?
Okay, Sean, Sean.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack you a second. You brought up a really good point about like, yeah, I want to throw down 20 beers and watch a Seahawks game. It's gotta a lot of it's gotta play into because of some of the illicit effects that alcohol has. Do you think it'd be out of the realm of possibility that because of the effect of that alcohol has by drinking and how it affects our purchasing habits in general? Like, I'm more apt to go buy some stuff that I might not otherwise buy or order, especially since it's so accessible online, like on Amazon or something like that.
Uber Eats is only alive because of drunk people.
Yeah, and that's a great point. That's one of the things I'm trying to say is perhaps our economy.
Right, you're absolutely right.
Perhaps our economy is
fucking drunk people.
Right, perhaps our economy is pseudo dependent.
Absolutely.
On it.
Amazon. You know what? I didn't really need those hand wraps for boxing, but I bought like 13 of them. But because I really needed them right then, because I wanted those denim hand wraps right then.
Yeah,
need them?
Exactly. And I'm the same way.
Probably not. Yeah, I mean, yes, it's literally it's a goddamn lubricant to everything else. For if you want to see the economy, okay, cool. Uber Eats is alive because of people like me. Because it's like, oh fuck, it's 4 in the morning now, I'm drunk as shit. I can't order pizza, but Uber Eats, I can order some pho because there's a 24-hour fucking Vietnamese place in Lakewood. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm gonna order pho from. It's gonna cost $40, and I don't give a fuck. And by the way, let's get some spring rolls in there. So now it's $60. Absolutely.
We all hear you loud and clear.
Dude, absolutely, dude. Luke sees it. I see it. It's absolutely, it's a good thing. It's economy-wise, yes. If everyone was sober, we wouldn't have that problem. You know what else we wouldn't have? We wouldn't have strip clubs. You know what I mean? Because, guys...
Well, we need those.
Well,
No, the
How many
fuck we
times you go to
don't.
a strip club sober, though, bro?
If it wasn't for strip clubs,
well,
I'd probably
like-
never see a woman naked.
It's called.
I haven't
The,
been laid in years.
it's called the
So,
internet.
it's
It's cheaper.
yeah, it's true.
Save yourself some money.
Negative, dude.
All right, hey,
Dude, negative. That's what the internet's for.
hey, Sean,
Dude, yo.
we gotta wrap
Yo.
things up. So, say your goodbyes to our listeners.
But
All
first,
right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Mongo. That's Mogo with capital apostrophe S. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for having me, guys. I look forward to being such a guest star on more podcasts.
Yeah, I can't wait to have you on
John,
again. It's actually been I appreciate it. It's been cool.
Dude, in person, I would love to drive over to hang out and fight with you guys and do it. And John Cena, where you at, bro? Where you at, dude? John Cena?
Do you see me? Do you
Let's get
see
this on,
me?
dude.
Jeez. Hey man, I fucking love you. Thanks for calling.
I love you. Hey, I love you too, man. Hang up and call me back so I can actually watch this podcast.
Okay, yeah, well, we gotta edit it and stuff like that out first, but I'll call you and let you know as soon as it's up.
All right. Edit anything out that has anything to do with who I am or where I work.
I think we avoided all that, but we'll double check.
No, I mean, I did a good job of that, I think.
I know,
At the
you
same
didn't
time.
say anything incredibly bad, I didn't think.
Well, no, not at all. I mean, I think I was really filtered, but at the same time, I was really honest, and I was very much myself.
You were.
So,
You're good.
And that's why I've been telling you for a long time I should be a social podcast, because you guys need me, because you need that personality, and like every now and then, just put a little extra input, bro. You know what I mean? That's
Okay,
it.
I know.
That's it.
I know where to look. You're definitely the smarter of the two of us. I got the look. I got the looks in the body, obviously.
Luke
Yep.
Luke is a masked man behind the scenes. Definitely agree. Pretty sure.
His name is Chris, and he appreciates that compliment.
Yeah, he's a masked man, dude.
oh, he is.
All right, guys.
All right, love you,
Have a good
man.
night, dude.
Thanks for calling,
Hey,
brother.
I love you guys.
All right,
Love you too,
Have a good
man.
night.
bye. Well, that was
That was wild.
that was my brother, and we've been talking a lot about, and I wanted to find a way to get him on here, and because he does have he's got some great experiences, he's on the front lines,
He has some knowledge we don't have.
Not gonna say where, but he's
Ohio.
public safety in a lot of areas, so he has a lot of experience and stuff like that. So getting his input on something like if prohibition was to happen now or something,
Right.
but so it's cool.
I
Cool
just
to have him
want you to know right now, at this moment, I hang out with you specifically to be around your family. It's official. I mean, your mom already had me won over, but now you are in the background.
He's one of the I'm the least entertaining of anyone in my family,
Which is really saying something, because that's terrifying.
Can you imagine being at dinner with all of us?
When are we going to get invited to Thanksgiving, by the way?
Next
Next time we have a Thanksgiving,
yeah, when the
off,
Vape Book goes around, just remember April Brews Day is the weekend of April 25th.
I know I'm going to sign up
Put
for it
that
next.
oh yeah, no,
But
The scary thing is all three of us have to get it, so
Yeah.
see if
it's not
that goes.
scary. Well, Hebert wants to get it too, so 4 of us need to get it. Yeah.
Hopefully no one
So
asks.
I
we're
put
stop
I
advertising.
I think
it.
when it went around, I was the only one that had put
Yeah,
it
no.
down so far.
And I tried
so.
to tell this guy that, but he doesn't like to listen to me. 'Cause
He told me that after I signed up for vacation.
Well, I got it. Yeah,
full
'cause
of
I was
shit.
juggling around because I was I know Hartley's wife's his wife Bree, her birthday is had some 4 days in August, and I had to wait till the second round to sign up for that to join. Because I almost did it at first, but then I was like, I got to do April Brews Day. So,
God damn it.
but anyway,
Damn it.
so
Well, that was wild.
Yeah,
You want to take another break?
the
This might be the end of the episode. Maybe we'll just keep going. Who knows?
shit, yeah, who knows at the rate this is going. But we had some great input from, like I said, from my brother.
That was really fun.
Great guest caller. Hope it was entertaining for you guys. And we'll take a quick break from our you'll hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Perfect. I think we're...
Hello, people of the internet. We're back. I'm back.
We have what... I'm just going to introduce you as, like, when you were on that last episode you were on of ours, as Luke's hot wife.
That's perfect.
You have no real name. You're just known as Luke's hot wife. There's on the internet.
Crank these. Sit over. Yep. Oh man. Okay, so welcome back to the train wreck. That is everything we do.
Prohibition.
It is not a train wreck. It is fun, wholesome family time. So get your kids,
Oh no.
pull them in front of the computer,
Oh no.
and watch this shit go down because we're gonna fuck something up. Well, I'm just joking. Please, please don't put your kids in front of the
Please don't.
computer.
Yeah, nobody needs to see this,
You do.
especially children.
Cop photo pose.
So we've been, we had a lot of stuff going on. It's been an exciting episode because we kind of started something that we want to get into big time as we go forward with this. Is we had a caller who just happened to be my brother,
Which was perfect.
and which was awesome because one, I love the shit out of him, and two, he's got a great perspective on a lot of shit, and
this one.
but anyway, so we would like to have like more people on to talk about things that they're interested in, and
I think it'd be perfect.
So not to call you out, but Dan, wherever you are, message me back because I texted you.
That didn't sound creepy at all.
That was.
I want to talk about your book.
I'm not getting an ex-girlfriend stalker vibe from you.
No.
At all.
Is it really?
No.
That's
Not even a little bit.
totally felt like I was putting
Really?
it out there.
No, you.
It was.
You really were.
That was amazing. I'm not
But,
afraid of you.
But yeah, so we'll put a message about this out in a little bit. But if you guys have something you want to talk about, or something you're passionate about, a cause, something you don't think is happening, or something you think that we're completely fucked up on,
You know what?
we'd love to have you on.
I'm gonna call someone out. Leroy, what's up?
Ooh, Leroy the runner.
Yeah. Hey.
Whoa, whoa,
No. We know
I
you
love
watch.
Leroy.
No, we know you watch. You have to have an opinion about something.
Oh
Please.
shit! Okay. All
Please
right.
reach out. Hey,
No way saying it's negative that it hasn't
we'll
called yet.
love to have you on.
There's another, Leroy, and there's another listener. His Instagram handle, I believe, is Mystical Death.
Whoa.
Super cool guy, an amazing photographer.
Mystical death.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's his Instagram handle. I can look it up and actually get it accurate. But amazing photographer, really cool guy. That's one of the really neat things about this has been, because you always like hope people. Hope's probably the wrong word. You think people might listen, but most likely they don't.
I mean, in the beginning, this was started because we were bored.
We were bored,
And we talked about nonsense at work, and we were like, you know what? Let's put this out for other people.
right.
We're not the only bored ones ever. So, hey, let's open it up. Let's bring them in.
And that's one of the
Let's
really
make people bored.
Yeah.
You're right.
No,
Make everyone
no,
bored as
no.
Give something for them to do when they're bored.
The
Oh.
crazy,
Yeah.
the crazy
My
thing
bad.
is, the stupid stuff we
You
come
can
up
edit
with
that out.
is at 2-3 o'clock in the morning when we're trying to stay awake, and so the weirdest conversations happen.
The best conversations happen.
I tried out for state patrol.
Oh no, you look like a bad beer ad.
Oh my god, that's totally it.
All right, I looked it up. It is mystical_death. Is an incredible photographer. So if you guys want to look it up, he's got
Show me
some
one.
really cool pictures.
So yeah, well,
These are just some of them.
it's like we come up with this stuff because it's late.
Steak.
We have to stay awake somehow. So it's like,
Nice.
you know.
Right, here we
He's
go.
got some,
Yeah.
It's got some beautiful pictures.
Yeah. Beautiful pictures.
And that's been one of the cool things about doing this is getting. I I didn't expect it at all, but got some cool interaction between some people that would like IM you on Instagram or Twitter.
No, I am you.
Leave you random voicemails.
Yeah, well,
I'm joking.
But I guess, out of the three of us, I'm probably the only one that like puts it out there a bunch.
I'm definitely joking.
You're the pretty one on camera.
But it's fun what we do.
I love it.
So, but it's I'm just being a big extrovert. Like I love interacting with people that check us out, listen to us, and stuff because it's a lot of nonsense. But within that nonsense, there's some good points worked in every once in a while, and it's and it rotates in who makes those points. It's kind of like when in any great championship team, somebody steps up.
If anyone says they're Tom Brady, I swear to God, I'm throwing something.
I'm not claiming I'm Jesus' cousin.
No, you're his nephew. I'm just saying. If anyone starts calling the GOAT, I'm throwing shit.
Second cousin twice removed. But
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This is a great drink, but I'll throw this bitch.
Whoa. Thank you.
What a waste of good rum.
What'd you make?
Oh, it was sort of a torpedo fuel boat with Kirk and Sweeney rum.
Oh, it's cool you brought that up because the torpedo fuel was the World War II drink that they would distill the alcohol, the denatured alcohol out of to make in the Navy, right? That was one of the drinks you made.
Yeah, that was what they do in the Pacific. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that actually plays in really cool.
Oh yeah, Veterans Day.
With for multiple reasons, but that was one of the huge things that happened in Prohibition. Was there was a battle between the government and the mobsters' scientists to find ways to make alcohol poisonous and make it drinkable again or potable.
Go on.
So there was this is one of the cool stories that I got into was because the government and a lot of people don't know this, and I'd like to spend more time on this the next episode. Is it as shocking as it is to go along with the government's narrative of Prohibition at the time? They specifically, with the intent to harm you, poisoned alcohol back during the Prohibition, and it ended up killing an upwards of 10,000 people.
Wait a minute.
Yes, Steve, it happened.
The government poisoning people?
Yes.
No.
Yes,
no. That's crazy.
Steve, believe it.
But it was the thing is what led to that is because it was just making kind of people sick, like here and there, because the government is sort of how we see things now.
What was that?
Not quite sure.
What are you doing?
But is how things went was
Talk about the government poisoning people.
Yeah, is how things went. There was kind of a battle between kind of like we see now, like in the private sector versus the government sector. Whichever has more money, you seem to get better work out of. Ooh. So, because the mobsters could pay scientists and chemists a lot more money. Mm-hmm. So the government would kind of like how they do now would try to get a step ahead of people. But because organized crime had a lot more money to offer, they would always stay 2 steps ahead of the government. So the government was putting poisoning alcohol, and with different types of chemicals or like ethyls or things of that nature, to the point where the mobsters could just get it and they could boil it to a certain point. It would boil that off, and they would have potable alcohol. The government got to the point where they were seeing that, and they finally said, "Okay, here's the stopgap. We'll start using what I forget the chemical name for it, but it's commonly known as wood alcohol." Wood alcohol has the exact same boiling point as, again, I'm forgetting the term for it, as drinkable alcohol. So in order to boil it off, you would burn off all the actual alcohol anyways. So is what would happen is obviously you would get an undrinkable alcohol out of that. That did not stop bootleggers from serving out, so they kept on going it, and the people that they would sell this alcohol to, the only people that would buy that because they were in dire straits were immigrants. And so they would buy this poisonous alcohol essentially, and it's like I said, it killed, in some estimates, 10,000, maybe more people.
No kidding.
Yeah, and
That's
it would,
terrible.
and even before that, the people that weren't killed, there was also an additional, in some estimates, 5,000 to 8,000 people that got permanent neurological diseases from wood alcohol. Has a neurological effect that does something specifically with the legs.
Oh, Jake leg.
Yeah, which would cause
Yeah.
a Jake leg, which was an debilitating condition.
And people went blind.
Right. That was another one. They came out of it, and a lot of people think that was from bootleggers making bathtub gin.
And it wasn't.
That was actually the government's tainted alcohol.
It wasn't people thinking that. It was actually the government putting that out there.
Putting that out there because they had to play along with the narrative
Yeah.
that alcohol destroys lives and can even kill you. So it's odd that, because instances like that, I'm sure, are numerous since then,
Do you want to?
and that we still trust that the government has our best interests.
Do you want a specific theory?
No.
Please.
The black market e-cig shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
how
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't think the government did that to protect big tobacco? Come on. Not only that,
Whoa.
it took 1 month for them to figure out, less than a month. It took them 3 weeks
It
to
did,
figure
yeah.
out it was vitamin E acetate. Is
Well,
the common ingredient that
You
kills
know what?
people.
That didn't matter though, because as of today, in some places, it's still banned.
Yeah.
However, people go back to smoking cigarettes then.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
one's going to be like, oh, I can't
It's like,
vape, so I guess I'm
it's
not
it's
addicted
an
to
interesting
nicotine anymore.
thing to think that, like, why go after e-cigarettes? Why not just go after the big culprit?
Because e-cigarettes don't have the lobby.
Right.
Okay, I'm done with my conspiracy.
But
theory.
that's no,
totally
it's
believe
a
that.
no, it's a good thing to bring up because guess who's buying up e-cigarette companies?
Big tobacco.
Yeah.
Just like
So as soon as they own enough of them, it'll become legal again.
Oh,
just like oil is buying alternative energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever see those Truth commercials?
Mm-hmm.
Now, before they were all about cigarettes and this, that, and that. Now they're all about e-cigs. To me, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like even those guys have been bought. That is
That's
amazing.
Dude.
Where's your morals,
Well,
Truth?
so let's go back to Prohibition. Prohibition was brought about by people who bought politicians. Like, think about that. Like, obviously, because of the drastic failure of Prohibition. Prohibition was not popular.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No.
But politicians were bought by lobbying groups.
Yeah.
Namely, the Women's One and the Anti-Saloon League. The Anti-Saloon League especially.
Yeah.
So they became
bought
incredibly
politi-
powerful, yeah.
Yeah, it was the most...
But who became more powerful after Prohibition?
Gangsters.
Exactly. And then who started being able to buy politicians, law enforcement, public figures?
Well, and that's the thing.
Gangsters.
The Anti-Saloon League could buy the politicians' vote, but the gangsters could buy the politicians' lack of enforcement.
Exactly.
So the politicians are just taking money from the people. They're like, hey, make this law. They're like, fine, I'll make
Well,
that law.
think about
and then
it.
the gangsters are like, hey, don't enforce this law. They're like, fine, I won't enforce this law.
Well,
It's fucking perfect.
Think about it. Things that are legalized versus things that aren't legalized, right? So weed, in some places, still illegal. Federally, still illegal.
Right.
You'll read or hear about a bust where it's like this millions of dollars of weed have been seized coming through this port, and all of this happened, blah 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 blah. And you're like, well, if that was legal, it would have came from a farm in California, and it wouldn't have been a big deal,
And you would have gotten the tax dollars from it.
It's like whoever decided that to grow this weed, you're making these people money. If this, however many bundles of weed are several $1 million, that's because you're allowing that to be.
Right.
They're taking that risk. They're like, whatever.
It's worth it.
Well, it's an interesting commentary because on both ends of it, on both ends, you create an industry. Either way you go, you create you create an industry of criminals if you go one way, and you fill up our prison system, or you create an industry that employs people in a different way of farmers, manufacturers, distributors, things like that. Either way, about the same amount of jobs are created. And so that's like one of the really interesting things, because it's what this all comes down to of why it's a money thing. It's whether something infringes on another big market that is already controlling or is already in place. And that's why it was interesting, why Prohibition is so interesting, is because alcohol was a huge market, and in some statistics, as we've read, accounted for up to 70% of government revenue.
Right, and that was before the IRS.
Right,
but still a lot of money.
And so a lot of money, but the fact remains is we were also losing out, going further on down the road when income tax was created, which income tax... The abolitionist movement knew that it could never work unless we found a way to replace alcohol's revenue. That's why they came with income tax to the government, because once income tax is instituted, they're like, okay, that will make up the windfall of loss of government revenue with alcohol,
which makes them incredibly evil people.
Yeah,
that was a terrible idea.
I mean,
and then so it goes along, and then the 18th Amendment was the Volstead Act, and then whatever amendment overturned it. 21st Amendment in 1933. And the government being what it is, because once you start something, it's much easier to just leave it there and just start taxing alcohol again, and kept the income tax. So and then you start to have the beginnings of the expansions of big government, which is odd again in the fact that the Republican Party started all this, which is about small government. So it makes you wonder, like, what's involved in all of this? Because I didn't get a specific number on it, but in researching it, just the amount of government agencies that sprung up over the creation of Prohibition and following Prohibition, it's just snowballed. It was one after another, and it's basically continued to this day. It's just getting bigger, and it's I'm not pointing a finger at anyone, any particular party, because obviously I hate politics completely, and I just, my personal opinion is this is all evil. So not to point any fingers at any party. It seemed, I don't know. I don't know if it's ironic or coincidental that it was that party that sort of gave rise to what's now big government.
Well, yeah, and you got to remember the Republican Party up until, well, maybe even still now, but they've always been the religious party, and it was the religious people that brought about...
Yeah, sort of the moral majority.
Right, yeah.
Uh-huh.
The rise of big government, as soon as you make a law, you have to create something to enforce it. So I don't know if the Republicans intentionally created big government in 1920, but they definitely were dumb enough to accidentally create big government in 1920.
To stumble upon it, yeah.
Right, and granted, they only did it to get reelected because the Anti-Saloon League...
It was popular. Yeah, it was a populist movement.
I think that lobbyists are to blame here.
Long story short, we blame you all. Bureaucracy in general.
But especially lobbyists.
And that's and Chris, you bring up a good point, because that's what I think I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. There was extremism on both sides. Like some people wanted it all. Some people wanted it to not be available in any instance. And it was that lack of any flexibility that kept it going as long as it did. And then, ended up obviously being appealed in 1933. That being said, technically it was a success, because drinking in the United States had lowered by 1/3 and maintains that way today.
But
Statistically.
was it a success? And no, I
Well,
mean
the women. And that's a good question. If we're just going by the goals of the women's temperance movement,
okay.
which was to decrease the drinking of alcohol, abolish slavery, minimize the workday to 8 hours, and decrease drinking and decrease cirrhosis of the liver. Mm-hmm. It was a success.
Okay, but in some instances, it gave rise to organized crime.
It did.
You know,
It made binge drinking popular. Little known fact.
It did.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
No,
you
and
used
like
to
you
be
were
to
saying-
drink constantly, but now you're just like,
like you
really
were saying,
cool
the
to drink.
regulation wasn't there, so anybody who had a room and 2 people was now a saloon or a speakeasy or whatever it may be. So there was no regulation. There was no worrying about this person who may have had too much to drink or regulation in the alcohol in itself. So you had the people who were mixing with alcohol to thin out their product to make more money, which also caused a lot of neurological problems for other people. So, I mean, depending on how you set the graph, yeah, it worked. But then when you look at the lower end, you know, the higher end, yes, it worked. You know, for the higher class, the people who make the most money, yes, it worked. But then when you look at the lower end, the people who actually suffered the ill effects of what this law brought.
Oh yeah, it was definitely, you know, and you know, when we continue on to another part of this, I have notes and notes and notes about how this looks like it was specifically garnered to keeping immigrants.
Yeah. Most laws
controlled,
actually
but-
hurt the poor than
They absolutely
more so
do.
than it hurts,
Yeah.
you know, the upper class. It's
They
just
absolutely do.
the way it is.
But I'm just saying, like, I'm not basically, you know, entirely what they set out to do, they did accomplish. And we did give rise to organized crime, and government increased to meet the threat that was organized crime. There was an instance, a passage I read in one of the books that Al Capone, the government was a flea on the elephant that Al Capone was. And moving up decades later, organized crime, like John Gotti was a flea on the elephant that was the United States government. So organized crime had gotten to the point where it was very still active, still, what's the word I'm looking for?
Prevalent?
Yeah, still active, still prevalent, obviously still made monetary sense for people to do it. But because government had also increased to the size it wasn't nearly as effective as it used to be. And so, but also would government have ever needed to get that big if it wasn't for prohibition?
Probably not.
Right. And so it's like so obviously it came up, government increased.
To get big for something else. Though.
He would, yeah, and that's
But
a
like you
safe
said-
It's just
assumption.
like now,
But like you said, in the beginning you had government, whatever it may have been, you know. And then all of a sudden you have to have new departments to cover other departments, or you know, the secretary for this, or the interior for that, or the department of whatever the fuck it may be. You know, it's like, I want a department for ice cream sprinkles, and there was a department for that. You know,
Well,
it's like
yeah,
there
it's-
is something for everything. If you go down to the government building in Richland, shit, I got lost. Is all I'm saying. There was a department for everything. And
Because
it's like,
it all starts essentially with people came to the United States to get away from being told what to do and how to live. And ever since that day,
you've been
that
told
we
what to do and how to live.
Yeah, that we stepped on the soil that was now the United States. We've been told what to do and how to live. And people keep wanting to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it makes you just wonder, like, because there's a weird part of human condition that's involved in that. Where it's like, you don't want to be told what to do or how to live, but
I don't think
by God, you will be the first to tell someone else how to do it.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. No, it's power. I've had that talk with you before, especially when it comes to stuff like religion.
Right.
Is power. Is having control over someone else's life. Their whatever it may be, because you know how it is. Most people, the same thing with prohibition, maybe religion, whatever it may be. We know what's best for these people,
right?
So they should listen to us no matter what, and that's usually how it starts. It started with the best intentions that we're gonna take care of it, and then it turns into the shit we're dealing with.
A shitstorm. It creates
everybody though. Like I think if you get people on their own by themselves, like once you get like groups of people who all believe in the same thing, then they get they think they have power over people.
Yeah, but
telling them what to do.
Yeah, and that's
but I think
government.
If you take the individual who like neighbor by neighbor by neighbor, I don't think the neighbor's going to tell anybody else.
No,
what to do.
I have a caveat for you in that, and we'll call that an HOA.
Well, anytime you have an integrated society, you're going to get that.
Yeah, but that's
why places like the Netherlands, Sweden, and Norway don't have as many problems, because they're all pretty much white. They're all pretty much the same religion. They're all pretty much, and that's why that system they have works.
We talk about government, and and then we break it down to something super small like an HOA. And some of these people, especially the heads or their underlings, get off on the power that they get because they're a part of this HOA.
That's true.
It's like, oh, you left your garbage can out for an hour longer than you were supposed
and that's
to?
Really is what you're alluding to.
$50 fine.
Is really just an example of economics. It's the same reason why socialism doesn't work. Is somebody wants to do more than what they're allotted to. And then they do it. Then the next person fucking ratchets up a little bit, and then the next thing, the system crumbles on itself.
Look at a person who gets just a small. I'm not the only person who's worked with guys like this. They go from being the same level as you to being the next manager or some kind of supervisor, and then they just absolutely lose their mind because they have this power over maybe 3 people now, but they have this power, and all of a sudden they just get this, well, I know everything because I'm the daytime supervisor. It's just, it's ego. It comes to ego
We've all
as well.
experienced that,
Yeah, I worked at a place, a long time ago. They're not around anymore, but they rhyme with blurk it blitty. And we had dudes that would go from being salespeople or warehouse people to being whatever supervisors, and literally, like, no joke, they have 3 people under them, and they think they are Caesar now. And it's like, dude, you're the same goofy ass guy that you were yesterday, and I will slap the shit out of you if you don't move. But that's what happens. But that's government.
Yeah.
That is, in a nutshell, that's government. So it's like, we know what's best for these people because we do.
We have a title.
Yeah, so you're going to listen to us.
We're
and
not a clerk.
again, it's not so much that I don't agree with what you're saying as far as it worked. It did work. But no one could have foreseen what came about from it. And the people... It's almost to that point where the higher ups, they don't see it because they don't have to live it. It's like that whole Marie Antoinette thing we talked about before. The let them eat cake mess. It's like they don't get it because they don't see the slums.
Herbert Hoover was a great example of kind of Marie Antoinette-ism in the fact that he was incredibly disconnected with what was going on in the country, and the common person.
Even when the Great Depression started, he thought, don't worry, charities will take care of it. It's like, you don't get it. No one's giving to the church because no one has money.
There were groups handing him study after study after study that just the legalization of just breweries, not distilleries.
Breweries or breweries?
Breweries. Just
hard word.
Just breweries could employ hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, it was some millions of dollars revenue.
From the barrel makers to the grain growers.
Right.
and shit like that. And it was, and speaking of the grain itself, it was kind of just slightly before Prohibition, the first law that was enacted to save grain so we could feed our soldiers that were fighting World War I was enacted. That law came into place after World War I was over.
Right. It was all racism at that point.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
racism against Germans who are technically white, so it doesn't make sense.
well,
but
xenophobia. Is
Yeah,
what would be the
xenophobia.
right word, not racism.
Nationalism.
They're which is so
Well, nationalism
fucking
is
crazy.
new.
Did you people would go on rampages of killing dachshunds?
Dude, I heard that. Dude,
Just
if you
dogs.
kill a dog just because its name is German, like
It's a
you're going to
German
hell.
breed of dog.
You're going to hell. There's
Like,
no
they-
way around it.
Thousands of like dachshunds, Dobermans, German shepherds were slaughtered
Yeah,
That's
because
terrible.
by angry mob because the fucking people just
Because-
get stupid.
you know what? I take a quote from one of my favorite actors, Tommy Lee Jones, and probably one of his best roles,
Yeah.
Men in Black.
Yes, go on. I knew that was going.
Just a
It's
minute,
like-
Steve. I'll be back.
It's like a person is reasonable and understanding and can contemplate things. People are stupid, dumb sheep.
And that's probably where we should wrap things up.
Yeah, I'm down with it. Let's start again next time. That's a great closing thought.
I can think of a better quote to end on. The
And that embodies how Prohibition was passed right there.
it really does.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking
Like
perfect.
people were like, man, if we make it illegal, it'll never happen again.
That's the most you've ever talked. You should do that more often.
You really should.
I have nothing to say.
All right.
I'm gonna let it go.
Jesus.
I'm gonna let it go.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll talk more about Prohibition next time. We got tons left to go through.
Lord Deathers, we love you. Thank you.
Cheers.